Good afternoon. Right, welcome to the Non-League Network podcast, and I've got a very special guest, a global, international star for us to be talking to about the Non-League Network today. This is Cecilia, and Cecilia has a link to Costa Rica, a link to Romania, and she's talking to us in English, which is not her original language. So thank you very much for that, Cecilia, in the first place. Welcome. Please tell us who you are and why you are here.
So thank you so much, first and foremost, to have me on your show. My name is Cecilia Lihv, born and raised in Sweden, lived in the US for almost 30 years, and got into football about 15 years ago. Ran a youth academy in the US, moved to Costa Rica, started a professional team from the ground up, and ended up going to Romania, investing money here, and now going back to Costa Rica, where we also have a development center for players that are looking to get into the professional industry.
Fantastic. Thank you. I mean, really globe-trotting here. We're talking to, I mention it every time. I think I can get it in there that I'm Belgian, and I love the Belgian football. But when you've got someone who talks about Sweden, America, Costa Rica, Romania, we're obviously focused on the non-league in the UK. For me, quite interesting to see how things are different in other areas as well. And one of the things you said was you're anti-bullshit. So we're going to say it as it is. You're very much, you don't sell dreams.
No.
You've also said that you don't like the fantasy industry. Now, in the UK, in about 92, 93, big money came in. The Premier League was then created. And, Selling Dream was it. It was a fancy agency, so that you had lots of agents, lots of trials coming in, lots of empty promises, money coming everywhere. Your stance is very clear. You're very much against that. So what's why would you be doing that? What's your reasoning?
So I'm not against it for the business side of people running it necessarily, because football is a business at the end of the day, and we want to make money in it. This is how people survive. This is how we build relationships. But what I don't like is that we are fooling people that don't know anything about the industry. So you have parents behind this buying into dreams of playing in specific areas, in specific countries, where their child might not necessarily fit into the culture. It might not even be feasible to visa situations. So when I say selling a dream, parents are the ones that are backing our youth. It doesn't matter where you go, whether you pay a lot of money in the US where the system is different, or you have academies in England where you also have to pay money to participate in it.
Yeah.
But when they try to bring those kids out of that environment and selling this fantasy of a dream, I don't think it's right.
Fair enough. I'm guessing, is that possibly something you saw a lot of in the US? Or is that across the board?
100%. So coming from Sweden, I was not in football. I was an athlete, was always an athlete. I was a swimmer. As a young kid, I lived in Algeria for 5 years. I moved back to Sweden. When I came into the US and had kids on my own and saw really what the system was all about and got into football, I understood that parents didn't have the education. Nobody speaks about what it's like to really go pro, whether you are a young man, a young woman, a young boy with passion at the age of 11, 12 years old, and you're looking at your favorite players or your favorite team. We all have dreams, and to get to the next level, whatever we want to do in life, I believe we have to dream about it. But the one thing is, when you have people that never played professional, was never in a professional environment, don't know nothing about the environment, doesn't make an effort to understand what it takes, But selling something just to make some extra cash, I say that it's fooling a lot of people.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think there's a lot of it. You mentioned business, and the thing is, it is a business. So
Yes.
if you've got people wanting to go into career and they're willing to invest into it, there will
Yes.
always be people around that who are going to make the most out of that, and they're going to sell, as you mentioned, sell the dream. So it's interesting you seeing that firsthand in that way, because you're going to see people in the UK, parents and young players. What's the biggest misconception that you think they would have? So if they're looking at maybe potentially going over to the US and taking part in an academy, and then they've got the whole pathway ahead of them. What's the biggest dream that you think they're being sold?
So the biggest dream, in my opinion, is when they sell this. If you go and play for an affiliate of a big club, where whatever it might be, an MLS Next Pro, MLS Next, which is in the academy where they're trying to get into the first team and get drafted, right? But the percentage is so small. So if you are looking at, I'm going to just take Inter Miami, they have a beautiful team, a lot of money. They just opened up a beautiful facility. So when you hear that branding behind it, Inter Miami, all of a sudden you think your kid is going to go and play for that club. Doesn't matter. City is my team. It's the same. Kids in the US, kids in Spain. If you hear, I'm going to go and play for Manchester City, it's the same reality that parents are being drawn to. And it's I don't think that it's something wrong. I think there's a misconception of what it means for your kid to enter an academy like that. What's the time frame? What does it look like? Who is going to develop the kids? Are they, are you looking for 1 year? Are you looking for 5 years? Parents have to move usually to where that academy is. You mentioned Dortmund. You have parents that have to, obviously, when you have a young kid, move into Dortmund, get a job there, get settled for your kid to enter into an academy. And how long are they staying there for? It's something
That's really interesting. Yeah, because you never really think about that. You always look at the end goal going, they might become a professional, they might make it.
Yeah.
But obviously you're looking at everything else around it, which is the family needs to relocate. You've then got all, massive upheaval. I think it was mother and father separated because there's two brothers within the Bellingham family. They haven't separated, but they went different ways for the different brothers. And you often hear about that becoming quite a pressure on the parents, actually, to follow their kids across the different academies.
And the parents have to understand what it takes. We have met a lot of players throughout the years, players that come into us and figuring out, how do they get pro? Where do they go? My business partner, Joe Funicello, who founded SoccerViza, I came in after he had founded it. He was a player, Italian passport, grew up in the US. The system is so broken, and he didn't know what to do. He bought a one-way ticket to England, played non-league for 2 years, and really tried to make it. But he was obviously older. But looking at the younger crowd, because nowadays clubs, they look for, when they're very, very young. But so I think I'm not necessarily against it. I just think that there's a lot of people out there that don't know much about the industry. They're not spending time. It looks cool. It looks amazing. Football is passion and love for a lot of people, and we all love it. I mean, I'm one of them. This has become my lifestyle, but we have to look through the cracks of what's actually real and what's not real.
All right, let's start talking about what you do, because there's a lot of, it makes a lot of sense. We've talked a few minutes now. I understand why you're doing it. Now, what have you actually done? Because we talked about Costa Rica and we talked about
Mhm.
Romania. So what have you actually got in Costa Rica?
So in Costa Rica, we have a development center, like almost like an oasis of a retreat for players that come in to work with us, myself and Joe, uh, ages 14 to 30, depending on
Mhm.
what they want to do and where they're at. Players who have parents that want to try something else. Being in a professional environment where you're almost in a preseason of a professional team, training, obviously, um, understanding what this industry is all about. It's not for everyone. It's
Mm.
lonely. It's depressing at times. You're away from family. You might have to go and travel the world where you are entering cultures where you're not really fitting in or speaking the language. So players come in to be in this environment and understanding exactly what it means to step into the reality of being in a professional environment.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot going to be involved there. Now, obviously, Costa Rica, Spanish-speaking country, but there's a heavy influence of English. So, what language do you have the whole center in? Is it in Spanish or is it in
It's
English?
English and Spanish. We have players coming in from all over the world, so English is the main language.
Hmm.
Um, we also invest in our own professional team in Costa Rica, building a foundation that hopefully one day will take us to the top, but we're not rushing it.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Foundation is the biggest thing. And especially as lower leagues, it takes up a lot of money, but it takes time to get to the next level.
Yeah.
Um, but when players come in to work with us outside of our professional team, we can see if they're at the level. Having a real transparent conversation. Let's say the player is 20 years old. They went to high school, played in college, comes from Europe where they were in an academy, and they're trying to break into the industry and looking at what markets should they really target. It's great to play in England, but realistically, how easy is it to get in there? Spain, beautiful country to play football in. Italy, Portugal, Germany, France. But when you come with a specific passport, non European, where can you play? And people don't speak about these things. So
Mm.
we teach them. Maybe Poland is a great country to enter, let's say third division in Poland, good facilities, making a little bit of money and getting yourself into playing professional and starting your career. These are a lot of topics. Also, being in the professional environment where you're training under professional coaches that have played professional, looking at the mentality. Are they ready for this?
Yes, it's fascinating. I mean, say let's take it to a real life scenario. You're in England. You're in. I'm in Kent, so I'm in the southeast of
Mm-hmm.
England. And say I've got someone in my family who's 18, 19. They're not going to be breaking into maybe a top level team. So at this moment, they're looking at the non-league element, and that's where our focus is anyway. And they could come to you in Costa Rica. They could then learn, obviously, a different language at the same time, learn how to work it around a professional environment. I'm guessing you're going to be training them into how to manage contracts, legal matters, well-being, all that side of it. Who's coming in to look at their level of football? Do you have links with any agents? Do you have links with any clubs? Do you send videos out? How do people know that they're actually there with you?
So we've built up a tremendous network ourselves. Obviously, Joe played 10 years professional football in Europe, different countries. We've built up through networking inviting people, taking risks about saying, hey, come see what we do. And throughout the years, we have worked with top level in Mexico, top level in Portugal, England, Sweden, Poland, Slovakia, Romania, Spain. We invite people to come out to Costa Rica, take a look at players, obviously. And also the scouting that Joe has done throughout the years as well has built a lot of trust for people in our network, so they know what they can get from players that we accept to work in. We don't accept any player because we need to make sure the level is there. Are we interested in signing a player for our own professional team, or is it at a higher level or a lower level? So
Interesting. So what, you have your own measures anyway. So you'll be coming in, so you go, okay, this is the person that we're going to be working with. Physical, mental, psychological attributes as well, and a willingness to work together. So there'll be all elements, teamwork, and all of that side of it.
yeah.
Just out of interest, I think you said it starts at 14. So have you got an educational side to it as well?
No, we don't, but majority of the kids are over the age of 18, but the kids that are younger, they do online schooling. So
Okay.
after COVID, when we moved down to Costa Rica, after the whole change in football
Everything.
in general, right? We had a lot of kids that could do school online, and it worked out. It's like a preseason for the professional team, so they know exactly training in the morning, breakfast, regen. There's a lot of things that goes into being a professional. So if you're 14 years old and you have parents backing you up, supporting you in any way possible, starting off knowing what it's like is better than to come in at the age of 20 and you're kind of looking in the dark in a sense.
Yeah.
But not everybody has a support system. So that's why we work with the undiscovered talent and the underdogs of people that maybe never got a chance, never looked upon, because the reality, how it is in football too. Very political. It's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knows really how do you network to get in to know someone in football that will actually give you a chance.
I mean, there's a couple of things there. One, we love a good underdog story. I mean, in England for sure. We love Jamie Vardy. We love any players who come in, the Inrights of this world. I've spoken to a few recently. Dave Kitson as well didn't go through a normal, typical path. We love a player was discovered maybe that little bit later. But the thing is, they're not going to be discovered at 25 or 26. 21, 22 is already quite late to be discovered.
Correct.
No, that was a lifetime ago for me. So there was a good underdog story element there. And then there's the element as well of actually thinking, well, I don't know everyone. And networking is an interesting concept. And when I say I'm thinking as my audience.
As in general, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it took me years to build my business network. And I certainly didn't have that time to do the sporting network.
Correct.
So to try and do that for your career, if you're not, if you're in your early 20s and you're in Greece and you've got talent, but you haven't necessarily made it in that environment, but you're looking at this Costa Rican potential, I can understand why that would be of interest at that level. Plus, Costa Rica is supposed to be incredibly beautiful and incredibly welcoming as well. What is it? Can you describe a specific day? Now, I'm not turning this into a sell your product, Cecilia. It's just that I'm opening up the mind of people within the non-league network, because this is fascinating. So it should be quite an interesting podcast and listing story. So you're 20 years old. You go into the academy in Costa Rica. Is that also in Romania, by the way, or is that a separate way?
No. So when we were in Costa Rica for 4 years, and then we wanted to be in the Mecca of football, go to Europe. And we thought bigger, better, more riskier. We love challenges. So we moved our operation and invested in a team here in Romania, which big mistake. And we can completely, I'm very honest about that. But decided to move back to Costa Rica. So the center itself, we have tried Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Costa Rica is a lot better for many different reasons. You said something about people are very friendly and open, and the culture. So that's one of the reasons. So a guy 20 years old from Greece coming in, for example, he will learn the level, different type of levels, obviously, what it's like to be outside of the European academy. I think that's very, so we don't only stay in the same environment. Now you're going to be around people that do speak a different language, but also being around people that have been in the game around the world and not just in your home country.
That's interesting.
And obviously for players that are aspiring professionals, if they get a contract somewhere, you got to think about, do I take it? Do I not take it? You have to keep this in mind as a player, keep an open mind to, let's say a team in Costa Rica, second division, is interested in a player that comes there to figure out his journey. Maybe that's a way for him to open up into the professional industry. Or one of our scouts or directors or club owners that come to visit picks up a player. It's also another way for him to go. Or we've had players who have grinded for a long time and have gone through the dirt of becoming a professional and realizes, this is not for me. I want to work in football instead. We talk about life after football. And so players kind of get a little bit of everything of figuring out life and getting to know themselves.
Right. Let me stop you there, because I lost myself about 5 minutes ago when I was asking the question, and then we went on a tangent. But the idea is, what would be a typical, there's a few things we're going to talk about, but one of them, quite simply, what would be a typical day-to-day for someone within your structure in Costa Rica?
Okay. We have our own complex, so players and staff all live together. Gets hot, so trainings start at 6 o'clock in the morning, where the bus will take everyone to the pitch, 5:15, 5:20 in the morning. Obviously get onto the pitch right away and have a 2-hour session, depending on what the coaching staff and Coach Joe will prepare for the week, the workload and everything. Come back to the complex. We have a chef that cooks for them. Amazing food, because we are in the Caribbean. So that's something that we're big on nutrition, learning how to eat and what not to eat. Players then have some time to obviously regen and take care of their bodies. Afternoon sessions might be strength and conditioning, looking at the physique. Not every player is in the best shape. So fitness obviously has to be at the level, whether he gets sent to play in Iceland or Asia or whatever it might be. I've done yoga with the players on the beach. Important to make sure that they take care of their bodies. And then we have dinner together. So a full on, it's like preseason. You go and travel with your team. If we have games scheduled, obviously we travel, whether it's within Costa Rica, traveling to Panama, traveling to Nicaragua. So there's ways for us the players have to play games to be able, so we can see what level they're at, obviously. And it's also how we network and meet other clubs and build relationships.
That makes a lot of sense. And so you said he just for clarity purposes, this is a complex that's only for male footballers.
Yes.
Are there plans to have a separate entity for women's game in the future?
I would love to. I have a daughter who plays professional football. She's 22 years old. I've always wanted to have a female team. When this is going to happen, I don't know, but it's something that I've always wanted. There's a lot of demand for women's football, and
Yeah.
I would love to get into that more, honestly, for my own personal research and knowledge, and be part of it in the best way I can. But currently, yes, young men.
I mean, it's the same for us in the non-league network. We've got the vast majority of people playing and involved in and actually getting involved in sponsoring in the day-to-day work within the football teams is still male orientated, but we're very much, and I've got a couple of daughters as well who have played football. We are in the next couple of weeks going to be interviewing local footballers from ladies teams as well, and I'm very interested in getting some ex-professionals, not just the men's but also the ladies, and
The
seeing what the
women,
women's
yeah.
teams are doing, because there's heavy investment in that side of the game. There's heavy investment in terms of community. For me, it's the community element as well. This is massive.
For sure.
It's the non-league. I call it the non-league network. It's a community for all of us. It's an ecosystem.
Yes.
It's not just men. So that's interesting that it's going to come in the future for you. In terms of how many people you've got at any one point, is it a dozen? Is it like a team 30, or you've got maybe? I know you've had about 400. Is that possible since you started?
Yeah, so we've worked with thousands.
Okay.
We have about 350 players per year come down to work with us. So in one shot, 24, 25 players, not more than that, because it kind of dilutes the personal touch and making sure you get to know the players. We've been able to place over throughout the years 450 players in the professional game, different levels. There's a level to every footballer out there.
Yeah.
Let's just get that real.
No, that's quite interesting. Yeah. So please give me the advice, because non-league players, I feel that I'm a failed footballer because I didn't reach the level that I could have played at. But the reality is I was never going to be at the top level. So I always knew the level where I could have been. But it's really important to anyone who listens to this that actually not making it to a level that other people think is successful doesn't mean that you're not a success. And there's a level for every player. And you've literally just said it. So do you train that when you have someone coming to you?
Yeah, and I think it's very important to be transparent about it. It's okay to say that, sorry, you're not going to play the Premier League. It's okay for them to hear it, but in a way so they understand it. Here are the reasons why. So I think that players that, you should shoot for the stars. Don't get me wrong. You should shoot for the biggest dreams. But in reality, if you're at the age of 25 years old and you haven't reached a specific level because of A, B, C, maybe you made it by playing at this level. And maybe you can reach maybe one more level in the next few years. And after that, maybe the doors are open for something else within football.
That's fair. That's fair. You have a lot of coaches and managers who come into it having played at. I mean, Jose Mourinho was never a top level player.
Correct.
In fact, Arsene Wenger, Jurgen Klopp, they all. Jurgen Klopp made it to a certain level, but was not above, was not international. So you do find that making it into management and post-playing careers, you don't have to be a very good player to be able to then move on to the next stage.
And some players maybe are better coaches after they're done with their career, in a sense of even if they played at a good, decent level, maybe their voice, their personality, their love for the game is better when they're on the pitch and giving themselves back to players. So
all I keep thinking there is Zola, when Zola went to go and be a
yeah,
manager, came on and he showed them what to do, and all the players looked at him and went, "We can't do that." So there's
true.
his
It's
was
so
like
true.
that. I can't remember who said that, but they watched Zola pinpoint a ball 30, 40 yards and they just went, "Thanks,
We
coach."
don't, yeah, but it's true. It's true. So you have, I think, in any industry you're in, you have to know your level. If you're open to learn certain things, if you're not open to learn certain things, some people have very good talent and things come easy. So it goes quicker, but maybe you plateau at a certain point.
Mm,
But I think it's very important for any player that really wants to go and play professional. Take a look at what that really means. If you're making 2,000 euros in third division Poland and you're playing in front of a crowd and you're wearing a jersey and you feel like you are in that club and you do what you love to do, that's playing professional.
correct.
You don't have to make $100 million a year. Sorry.
That's absolutely true. Now that's being a professional player means that you are. Well, what does it actually mean to you? Because to me, it means you make enough money to not have a secondary job. It is your primary profession. It is what you do for your career for that period of time. What does it mean to you?
So, in reality, if a club pays for food and housing, you're playing professional, in my opinion. If you have people coming to games, cheering for you, rooting for you, wherever you're playing somewhat professional. People look at this as amateur, this is semi-pro, this is professional. But I believe that if you feel that you are playing at a higher level than you did 5 years ago,
Hmm.
you're playing professional.
Hmm.
It could be 500 euros. As you know, lower league throughout the world, you're not making a lot of money. But if you're getting somewhat of a paycheck, small salary, food and housing by the club, they pay for transportation. Maybe you get a flight to your home country or whatever you might get. That is a compensation, which means that 5 years ago, you didn't get compensated for anything.
Yeah. So that's interesting to hear that about football. I'm saying interesting a lot because I'm fascinated with this conversation, by the way. I don't often say that. About 25 years ago, the people who used to do that were cricketers and rugby players from other
Mm-hmm.
countries, Australians, New Zealand, South Africans, who would come over to England and they would
Mm-hmm.
get their lodgings and their board and some payment, not necessarily thousands and hundreds of thousands. And they would consider themselves as professional players because they'd achieve a certain level in Australia, for example. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't going to be playing the top league in Australia, but they were able to come into the UK, where they
Mm-hmm.
would then receive as a one or two players per club. They would then have lodgings, food, accommodation, and a little bit of money on top.
Mm-hmm.
Now it seems like that's now happening to other sports, including football, where in the UK, certainly if you go back 25, 30 years, you had the likes of David Platt, Gary Lineker. A few people did it, but not many went to
Mm-hmm.
play abroad. And very often they played abroad, they came back because they weren't able to have much of a successful career. When you look at what's happening in Italy, and you've got a handful of English players, but they're staying there for a longer period of time.
Sure.
And you've got Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's been there now for a number of years, and the game suits him.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this nomadic world of the footballer following what used to be the cricketers and the rugby players. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost the new way of being. And as you've described, you could be a professional player. And what I would then look at is you're also learning a language, you're learning the culture, you're learning expertise and experience of if I'm someone from the Midlands in the UK and I go and play in Poland in the second or third division, I then come back to the UK. I've got so much more worldly experience than someone
Of
who
course,
stayed in the Midlands.
of course. But I think with
So,
players are also what 25 years ago, we're seeing a big change. They want instant gratification. And this comes from social media, it comes from technology, it comes from uh, quick cash kind of thing.
yeah,
If a player is going, who never played professional before, but wants to play professional and receives a lower league contract for, let's say, 500 euros a month and food and housing, lives in a small town in Poland, you have to be the best player in that team, in your region, in that league, for you to get your eyes on you. Just because you go and sacrifice one season, 1 year, doesn't mean that you're going to go straight into city. It
yeah.
doesn't work that way. So I think footballers, just because you go and make a sacrifice, it doesn't mean that you're going to get that jump start. It's a very small percentage that will actually get that. We have players in the world that have gone from non-league into the Premier League. We have players that have gone from lower league and gotten big contracts.
Yeah.
But the number of players that are trying to play professional, and if you start somewhere, they have to start realizing that they're not going to get into the bigger leagues until they perform consistently, not just one game, sit the bench another game, hop in for 10 minutes. It's got to be an overall consistent performance throughout the full contract.
So how do players, in your mind, achieve that consistency? What advice would you give to someone who is a player in the non-league who's coming through and they're looking to achieve some sort of consistency? What would the balance be for you?
Patience. Patience is the biggest one. And it's okay that you fail the first time around. It's okay you fail the second time around. It's going to take some times for you as a player to get an experience. This is what I think 25 years ago, we were not rushing into something. Now we feel stressed. You mentioned something earlier, 21, 22 years old, like we're rushing and we feel stressed about not being where we're supposed to be, not just in football, even in life. If you're 30 years old and you haven't bought a house yet, people are looking at you like you're crazy. You're not married, you don't have kids, you don't have a house. It's the same as a player. And me and Joe, we see this a lot, and we have these serious conversations with people. If you've never played professional before, you've never been in a professional environment before, you don't have a LinkedIn profile, you don't have a highlight video, and you think you're going to go and play top league somewhere, it's impossible, almost impossible.
My
So
word, you mentioned LinkedIn. So why LinkedIn? I mean, I'm on LinkedIn all the time, as I know you are, and that's how
yeah,
I found you.
yeah,
And I'm fascinated by how many ex-pros and current pros I'm linked to
mm-hmm.
on that platform. I've also seen some players in non-league actually turn up. I have seen a resurgence of those players being on that. Is that something
Mm-hmm.
you advise your own players in Costa Rica and say you need a LinkedIn profile?
100%.
Wow. Okay.
How do you market yourself in reality, right?
Fair.
I get a lot of messages of, hey, my name is so and so. I am 20 years old. I'm a striker, and here's my video. It's the most boring thing ever to receive. And at the end of the day, if you have thousands of people reaching out to you this way, anyone in this industry even though we're looking for the next big thing, how many videos can you sit and click and see, right? It's a full-time job. So teaching players how to stand out, what their video should look like, how they carry themselves, how they speak, what to write, it's important. Because again, it's a business at the end of the day. So anyone they're reaching out to, it's a business. Does the director, sporting director, have time to go through 15 videos per day? He doesn't. So you have to know, I don't care where you're from, we have this network, whether it's social media, LinkedIn is obviously the professional network, and it's for professionals. And if you want to play professional, that's the network to keep yourself professional.
I've never heard it spoken about like that, and that makes sense. We on our platform, just if anyone's listening for the first time, the non-league network was set up by David Lihv, and the idea was he couldn't find anything locally. He was a player who'd moved areas. He'd reached a certain level. He'd gone to an academy. He'd then gone through various different teams. Couldn't find a local team. Went onto Facebook, found a team that way. Realized there was something really, really missing for the teams to find players and players to find teams, and both sides to actually find services and products, nutrition, strength conditioning, mental health support, actually marketing, advertising, all the kind of the structures and services that I look into doing and do with clubs. That's what the non-league network started off as being, is just linking the players and the teams. What it is now is just so much more, because it is a business. But one thing that my focus is on LinkedIn, always has been and always will be, we need to have the visual element of Instagram. We've got X, we've got Facebook, of course. We've also got our own YouTube channel, got these podcasts going. But LinkedIn is where we have the conversations, the business conversations about professionalism within the sport. It amazes me that a club doesn't have a LinkedIn presence, but I've actually never really considered a player needing to have a LinkedIn presence. And for you to actually say that, 100%, that's what they need. That's a big take for me to take out of this. Obviously, there's a cultural element. Obviously, there's the fact that a player will have a certain level. There's the fact that you've mentioned players need to address what they want. They need to reach for the stars. They need to decide what they want to be going to, but also understand their path might be very different to what they see on TV, or the dream that they could be sold.
Yes.
It's fascinating having that approach with you. Now we're coming towards the end of our conversation. I wish we could have a lot more. In fact, we're probably, it would make sense for you to have your setup on the non-league network, so that we put it on there so everyone can find it and see it. And for you to share, if you've got any videos or anything, you share that information on there would be great.
Sure.
How does Stephen, who plays at Stevenage, find Cecilia, unless he's going onto LinkedIn and goes, I'm going to find Cecilia Lihv, and your name is on there on the podcast? But how do they find you? How do they get more information from you? How do you welcome that contact? Because you obviously get a lot of people coming to you. How it's best for people to find more about you and to find out about your product services in Costa Rica and you as a person?
So obviously we have our website, SoccerViza.com. A lot of players can apply through there and send in videos. That's one way of doing it. I'm big on LinkedIn for myself, and my business partner, Joe, is also very big on LinkedIn. Our company has a page on LinkedIn as well. Social media is huge throughout the world, and it's how we work the most. We have a YouTube channel. We do a lot on Instagram, Facebook.
Oh, she comes
obviously.
back on. There you are. We lost you
Sorry.
for a second.
I'm
Don't
so
worry.
sorry.
That's the wonders of actually international. I mean, I don't know where all your contact details went, but it went very dark. So please start again. How do people get hold of you and they find out about you?
So we have obviously our own website, SoccerViza.com. Players can read a lot about us, see what we've done, but also apply to come and have to our program where we have an interview process. We want to meet the players. Coach Joe also speaks to the players. Social media, obviously Instagram, Facebook. We do a lot of real transparent work of how we work with players, especially our, Coach Joe, the way he looks at player, the no bullshit type of transparency. LinkedIn, I'm big on LinkedIn, obviously. I think it's very important to have not controversial conversations, but to speak the truth so we can all educate ourselves. I didn't play football myself. I grew up in Sweden where football is a big sport, very big, where you root for your neighborhood team and the national team and everything. But when I came into football, you got to learn what it is. You have to understand everything about it. And I think that's important for players too. So if you're really trying to play professional, you got to know, can I get a visa in Poland?
Good shout.
How many foreign spots do they actually take? If I am a foreigner, why spend money going on trial if they said, we don't have any foreign spots left? So I think the way we carry ourselves as an organization, being in this game for quite some time now, investing money in our own club, investing in, as a club investor, you invest in players. So now you're going to teach your players, listen, if you come to training with bad attitude or you're being the bad egg in the locker room on a pitch and the way you just have zero respect, I mean, I'm spending money on you.
Yeah.
That I think is something that we do really well in the sense of from our own experience, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you. I think this has been, I mean, the word of the day is interesting. I'm just fascinated by your life story as well as your business and the fact that you're looking at football. I refuse to call it soccer. The right way. As far as I'm concerned, it's always going to be football. But look, fascinating. I think it's going to be one of the real highlights of our podcast series. And I look forward to having conversations with you again in future and to see whether people actually do reach out to you. But I'll put all your details on the podcast and make sure that goes through. And it's been an absolute pleasure, Cecilia. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It's a great pleasure. Hopefully we'll meet in person one of these days. And thank you.
Oh, welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.